So first question, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. AI is rapidly changing the way that EAs and board secretaries work. What are the most impactful AI tools available, and how can they be leveraged to add value?
Thank you, Emma. That's quite an open question, and
Sorry.
a lot of different ways that can be answered. Let's just start with a show of hands. Who's actually using generative AI in their work at the moment? Yeah, about 70%. Yeah. So I think the main kind of tools that generally get used in administration are those ones that are built into your company infrastructure as it is. So Microsoft 365 has Copilot, and I think a lot of institutions that you guys work for probably run something like this. Or if you're in a Google infrastructure, then it'll be Google Bard and the kind of the Google tools that they use. You will probably start by seeing things like ChatGPT and all of its competitors like Claude, Anthropic, China's DeepSeek. There's lots of little ones out there, but I think for today's purposes, we'll talk mainly around ChatGPT because that's kind of got the biggest market share and that's the one that I've got the most experience with. You might have been using some calendar tools and meeting assistants like Calendly or Motion. I personally use Motion and I think it's bloody fantastic, and if I could have used that for my CEO when I was an EA, it would have saved me so much time. So I'm kind of going to talk about the different ways that you can use those. Oh, there's also the transcription softwares that are out there now for meetings. So the main ones being Otter AI or Fireflies, as well as those ones that are built into Teams and Zoom and Google Meet. So I've done a little bit of research and I've created a research document which I'll share with you all after this, but kind of looked at the uptake of AI for EAs and board secretaries both globally and in New Zealand. Really interestingly, I found that New Zealand was the third fastest adopter of AI in kind of corporate governance and executive assistance worldwide, which is really fascinating. But it showed that the majority, I think it was about 86% of EAs say that they are using AI, but only about 24% of companies are using AI. So people are doing it on a personal level as opposed to within their work. So organisations aren't quite keeping up with the advance of AI, whereas people are getting curious and starting to use it. And that's where some of the issues come in, because you don't have those guidelines, and you might fall into traps of kind of sharing confidential information when the company doesn't have those guardrails up. One study in Buckinghamshire Council found that when they used Copilot, their EAs saved 25 hours a month in scheduling and calendar management. There's been a 98% accuracy in presentations, documents, written content when you're using AI to kind of summarize that and to enhance what you've already written. You can get up to 3 times productivity, this is what the findings are, and a lot faster research. And I'll talk to the research part because I find that really, really fascinating. You can also kind of use it to test your decision making or executives' decision making. So using something like ChatGPT to actually say, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think the outcomes could be? What do you think some decisions are? And you can push forward and back with it, and it'll actually act as a conversational partner to help you yourself better work out and frame up the thoughts in your mind, or what you might be kind of recommending to your executives around different ideas. So the magic of AI in your role as an EA is in automating those mundane tasks. It's the number one thing that I can recommend for you if you want to start implementing it is think about what annoys you the most in your role. So, is it calendar management? Is it presentations? Is it travel planning? Is it event management? And then think about how you could potentially be helped by AI. So I like to approach AI, particularly something like ChatGPT, as a super smart, recent postgraduate student who's coming in to be an intern, and you can ask them to do anything and they'll do it, and they'll be super efficient, super competent, but they don't quite have the common sense and worldwide experience that you would get from an adult. So you need to have that oversight, you need to check what they're doing, and you need to give them feedback. Yeah. I'll go into kind of use cases a little bit later into how we can particularly use things, kind of focusing on what you guys are more interested in. But these things are all what's available. I think it's really good for
Yeah,
next question,
perfect,
kind of
absolutely.
getting into how we can use it.
Okay, so what are some of the practical ways that EAs and board secretaries can use AI to automise routine without losing the personal touch that is so important to your roles? I've had a couple of conversations this morning with people, and I used to have the best EA, and I think that she did a better job than me. She could have done my job. Okay, so that's the importance of that. So that personal piece, how do you combine the two?
So I think that's where you come in as an EA. If you harness AI, it enhances you and your abilities. So you kind of can free up those mundane tasks that are taking up a lot of your time, and you can become more of a strategic partner. So it gives you the smarts, it gives you the assistance to be able to produce great documents, great products, great content, whereas you're not doing the heavy lifting. So it saves you time, you can still present it, be honest about it, like there's no secrets. I don't think that you need to hide the fact that you're using these things. It's a tool like anything else. And then you can go on to have that human oversight. You're checking it, you're still the master of what you're using, but it makes you better. It creates more ability for you. So I think the number one thing that I can recommend to you is oversight. You can't trust it to do a good job without checking, just like you wouldn't if you had your recent grad as an assistant. You would always check that when it's your work. So trust it to do what you're asking it to, but always check. You need to fact check. So it can hallucinate, and you might see that. You might see that in some of the images that it creates. If you ask it to do anything that has any kind of text or numbers, it tends to go a little bit wibbly wobbly. And likewise, sometimes if you're asking it to do research with citations and references, it'll give you references that go nowhere. So you just need to watch out for some of these things, and you just need to push back a little bit. I think you get out what you put in. So it takes a while to get your ChatGPT or your Copilot or whichever kind of product you're using to get to a point where you're happy with the way it works, and that's a feedback loop. So you need to be open to telling it, no, I don't like it like this, I want you to do this. That summary is too long, or that summary is too short, we need more detail or less detail. We want you to use New Zealand language. A number of things. Know that that image is wrong, the numbers and letters don't look right, make them real. The better I get in my prompts with AI, the better I get outcomes from it. So, and that's a matter of just of playing with it and testing it and taking the time to actually, use it, see what it does, think about what you want. And I think that's part of the trick, is actually working out what it is that you want as an outcome from these things, and just, nursing it to get there. The beautiful thing about it is it learns, so you're training it, and once you've given it that information and it gets to the point where you're happy with what it's giving you, it keeps giving it to you in that way until you ask it to change. So that's what I mean by the more you put in, the more you get out. It takes a little bit of time to nurture it and love it and grow it, and then it becomes an amazing tool.
Can I ask a quick question
Yes,
about that?
please.
I'm going a little bit off piece.
That's okay.
Sorry. So I have tried and I'm trying to get it to, understand me more. Like I'm sure many executives are trying to do. Is there a trust element in that with the people that you support, in terms of knowing that it comes from AI, and that what happens then?
Yes, and so there are ways around that.
Yeah.
There are different tiers of security within a lot of these systems, and the free ones are not secure. The paid ones are. So you have to spend a little money to get that security.
Yeah.
ChatGPT has an enterprise version, so they've got their free version, their paid version, and then enterprise version. And if a company purchases the enterprise version, it's actually a closed loop within their system. It doesn't go out to the wider world. So that means that it doesn't update from what's going on in the internet unless you run an update. But you can load it with all of your company information, all of your policies and procedures, even board papers if that's what you kind of want to do. And then you can use it as a database, and it's searchable. So you can go into ChatGPT and you can ask it, hey, what's the maternity leave policy at the company? And it'll give you like a summarized overview, as opposed to having to go and find your policy libraries and delve through, 16 pages of leave. But it's, I think you do need to understand the parameters of what those securities are to be able to go to an executive and say, actually, here's the proof that this is going to be safe and that yes, risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a serious risk. And even with the secure kind of paid version of ChatGPT, I still don't put identifiable company data in. I think it's still so young and it's so fast moving. You wouldn't want to end up in any kind of position where you did that and then found out that actually it was using it to train its computer models, and then someone else asks a question and it comes up and says, oh, here's the tribe data for comparison.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important, is you're not putting in company information, you're not putting in names, you're not putting in anything that can become identifiable for the companies.
Okay, great answer. So you've got to get to know it first.
Absolutely.
Before you can trust with the executives and take it to those people.
Yeah.
Because many of them are skeptical.
Yes. Yep, and fair. And I think
Not all,
that's
but many. But I think that's a fair comment to make.
Reflective of these statistics around company uptake being a lot slower than personal uptake.
Yes.
And I think that's why when I talked at the start about whatever your infrastructure is within your company, that's the best place to kind of go and test first, because you've already got that security element.
Yeah.
So, Copilot is embedded within the system. It's already gone through all the checks that the exec team require.
Yeah.
That's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final question before we get out to Q&A. I hope you are all thinking of the questions that you want to ask. But how can we use this for strategic impact and influence within your organisations? Some things you prepared earlier.
So I think where it really becomes wonderful is in that kind of analysis, research, content creation area. And as an EA, I kind of think back to when I was an EA and how I would have used this. And I spent a lot of time, or my CEO spent a lot of time creating PowerPoints, writing them, finding the right pictures. He'd come to me and say, I need these pictures and can you make this beautiful? This presentation I made in about 5 seconds using Gamma. It's just revolutionised the way you can do things. If you've got the notes, you put them in, it creates a beautiful presentation. If you don't have the notes, you can ask it and it'll create the content as well as create the beautiful presentation. And then you can use that as a draft to go in and edit and change things. The analysis point, it's fantastic if you've got any kind of articles or, a multiple of things that you need to compile and do kind of cliff notes for your exec, you can plug them into something like ChatGPT and you can ask it to summarise or to give you the top 10 points. I love to use it to summarise books, so you can go in there and say, give me the Pareto principle of Patrick Lencioni's Death by Meetings book, and it'll give you a one-pager about all of the kind of the key points in there, and you've just saved like 18 hours not reading a book. Although I love books, I think you should still read books.
But you can't read them all.
You can't read them all. You can also use it if you've got spreadsheets and you're needing to pull out kind of information from that, financial reports, and you want the kind of executive summary. Again, only when you've got the closed system and it's secure, then you can put that in there and you can ask it to create, you can do like a P&L. Like it's, it has so much capability. You can use it to do, so like compliance tracking, if you want to have a scan of the legislation and regulatory environment, you can ask it to do an update of all of the legislative changes in the last 2 years relevant to your industry, and it'll create a report for you. It uses the internet. It's like, it ate the internet. It has all of that information.
Which is
incredible. Exactly. And it finds things so quickly, which would take you such a long time to find. In researching this, I used ChatGPT and it found me articles from Deloitte, McKinsey, the Buckinghamshire Council example I used earlier, which I would have never found if I was searching on the internet. That would have taken, sheets and sheets and sheets of Google search, but it was so relevant to what I was looking at. Like, it pulled up blogs, it pulled up so many things that I wouldn't have found unless I'd spent, a solid week actually doing this research myself. And process optimization, it's great, if you're doing anything that's a repetitive task. I'm certain, I haven't been able to do it yet, but I'm certain that Microsoft Copilot is going to be able to schedule board meetings that are recurring, but not always at the same day and time. I haven't been able to make it do it yet, but I know that it's going to happen. Great faith.
Manifestation.
I'm manifesting it. I read there was a Reddit thread actually talking about Microsoft Copilot, and someone described it as trying to fly an aeroplane that hadn't been built yet.
Yeah, nice.
So I think, again, just going back to how you can get this built into your work. I know that a lot of you are really busy and don't necessarily have time to go out there and experiment. But start small, so kind of just choose one thing that you want to focus in on that is one of those mundane tasks that takes up a lot of time. And then look at how you can actually integrate that into other parts. So whether you're using something like ChatGPT as well as Microsoft Copilot to create a board meeting schedule based on, you ask ChatGPT to pull up the dates for 2026 that are the third Thursday of the month, excluding public holidays, avoiding school holidays, not in July. Then put that into Copilot and say, can you create these into meetings with these people? And then...
Can they look at leave calendars as well?
It should be able to, yes. It should. You're just like, yes.
Yeah.
I think it will do whatever you ask it to do, so long as you've got the patience to actually persevere in the instruction and trying to get out of it what you want. I think the restriction at the moment with Copilot is it can schedule all of the meetings, but it can't actually put them into your calendar and send out the invitations. But I think that will change. I think it's a moving feast. Review, so whatever you're doing, again, just have that oversight piece. So you need to constantly review what it's producing, what you're asking it to do, make sure that it's accurate. Use common sense. This is why EAs will always be around and are not going to be replaced by AI, is because you have that human experience, you have the common sense. So long as you have that oversight, it's never going to be able to have the EQ that you as people have. And then start looking at what else you can add in. So once you kind of get used to using it a little bit, what else can it do? Can it help you draft board papers? Can it help you draft company updates? Anything that you really want to do, just explore whether you can get it to work for you. And there's a little future-proof your role example. Use tools, learn, share, and then position yourself as an AI-powered strategic advisor.
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you.
Should we do a live demo?
Or Q&A.
Or Q&A. We'll go to Q&A. And we have you've prepared a wonderful pack that people can take away that can hopefully help, if you're not already there, learn some new tools to hopefully make your lives easier. Have we got any questions? Yes. I might bring the mic over to you. We've got to run around here.
Sorry.
Hi, I'm Kieran. Thank you so much. That was so helpful. I love the practical examples you're giving, because I've found that that's probably been the wall that I've come up against. Like, AI is around, we know it's there, but I'm like, I don't know how to actually have some sort of proper impact in my day-to-day. You did reference some of the other apps that are using Gen AI, like Motion, and I hadn't actually heard of Motion. There's other things. I'm working in an environment where it's just Microsoft Office. So because I have that limitation and it's an organisation, have you seen or had yourself like examples where you can bring these in? Because I'm not sure I can do that in my work environment, like bring Motion in. Is that just the limit at the moment?
Yeah, I think that is the challenge when you're working in a big organisation that has, very strict security controls. There are ways that you can do it within Copilot. So if you're using a Microsoft environment, do you have Copilot? Yeah, so explore that. I know that you can use that in a way that can help you to refine those schedulings within calendars. As an example, Motion connects to your calendar, so it sees all of your appointments, but then it's also a task management system, so you can add in all of the to-dos that you have on your list, and it auto-schedules them around your meetings. And if your meetings change or if new meetings come into the calendar, it shifts those to-dos, and it's a little dopamine hit because you tick off the things that you've kind of done when you do them. I think that Copilot does have a similar capability, so it has Microsoft Tasks can tie into that, and I think you could probably teach it to feed into the calendar. But you can use it in other ways to help save time. So you can ask it to send you an email summarising the day's worth of emails that you've got in the inbox with any actionable points that need to be done, and it'll kind of summarise everything for you.
This is Copilot?
This is Copilot, yeah. So I think just explore the capability that you have there, and then when there are gaps, if you have time, you can kind of look at what something like Motion might do or what ChatGPT might do that is missing. And honestly, I think work up a business case. Use ChatGPT to help you write it and talk about the pros and the cons for the business and talk about the security and talk about the ROI on your time and their money and see how you go in that respect.
I have one other question.
Yeah, sure.
Where have you found that you've gone to research AI as you've wanted to grow? Like, is there some people in for the EA sort of admin context?
Yeah, so I've listening to podcasts. There are different AI podcasts. I've actually written a little bit of a resource for you guys around places to go with podcasts and different apps that I recommend using. Not just AI specific podcasts, but things like Diary of a CEO, like interviews that they've done with like the head of Google, Mo Gaudat. using ChatGPT itself to recommend different ways. There are blogs out there that have kind of talked about the way they can be used. And again, in the research paper that I've provided to you guys, it's got references to some of those blogs where it's got, again, references to what they've referenced that talk about uptake and the way that it can be used for EAs specifically. Yeah, so it's really, partly talking to people, listening to podcasts, watching webinars, and then doing my own research and finding out that something like ChatGPT can make that a lot faster.
Yeah.
It's fabulous, thank you.